I'm certainly glad you could join us today. I thought maybe today we'd do the little painting that you see in the opening, the little swamp scene. It's very, very simple. I think you'll enjoy it. So I tell you what, let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen. They'll come across right there that you need to paint along with us. And come on up here and let me show you what I've got. Today I've taken my standard old canvas. I'm using 18 by 24 inch, but you use whatever size is convenient. And I've taken a little gray gesso, and I've just taken an old liner brush and an old fan brush, and I've just very quickly painted in some little indications like little palm trees back in here. I live in Florida, and we see a lot of swamp scenes like this. In the foreground here, I took a natural sponge and used black gesso and just daubed in some basic shape and form. I've allowed that to dry completely, and after that dried, then I've covered the entire canvas with a very, very thin coat of liquid clear. And if there's any doubt, if you're not sure if you have enough or too little, put on the smallest amount that you possibly can of the liquid clear and take a paper towel or something and wipe it off. Because it's transparent, you have a tendency to put too much on. There's very, very little on here. Now, I thought today we'd just have some fun. This is a beautiful little painting and it works very easy. Let's start today with a very small amount of yellow ochre. Just a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's go right up in here. Now, I'm going to take the yellow ochre and I'm just going to begin making little crisscross strokes, and we'll just start painting this in like so. Isn't that little animated opening cute? I like that very much with the little painter guy in his painter suit. We have a lot of fun making that. That's the brainchild of a very good friend of mine who's one of the engineers here, Jerry Morton. He comes up with these crazy ideas, and between the two of us, we sort of put them together, and then it takes a lot of people to make them happen. So thanks, Jerry. That was a nice one. There we go. Just yellow ochre. And we're just sort of filling it in like that. There. Okay. This is the hardest part of the painting. Shoot, if you can put this in. The rest of it's simple. The rest of it's simple. The clear is on there just to make the canvas slick. It allows the color to move freely. If this was a dry canvas, you'd be in agony city trying to do this, and it wouldn't move very well. The liquid clear just makes it work so nice, so easy. There we are. Now I'm intentionally allowing this yellow ochre to go right over some of this severe black color that we have here, very strong color. Just let it go right over the top of it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There we are. Something about like that. And you make it as dark as you want it or as light as you want. It's up to you. It's up to you. There. Okay, now then. I'll add a little more right in here. There we go. Let's take and mix up a little bit of brown. And I'm going to make some brown today. For that, I'm going to use alizarin crimson and sap green in about equal proportions. Just about equal. Maybe today we'll make it a little bit to the reddish side. And you can make it either direction you want, toward the green side or toward the reddish side. I think today we'll go a little bit toward the reddish side. A little bit, okay? Wipe off the old knife. Now let's have some fun. We'll just use that same old brush. I'm going to add a little of that to the 2-inch brush. This is just a very, very warm brown color. Let's go up in here. Now with it, we're going to start on the bottom and work upward. Just start on the bottom and work up, up, up. And we're going to allow it to come up till it blends right into the yellow ochre that we have on the canvas already. This is a beautiful, beautiful color. I think you'll like it. And as I say, you can take it either to the reddish side like we did here, or to the green side. Depends. Depends on your mood, what you're trying to achieve. It's up to you. Up to you. There we are. Let's see where that blends together. Look at that gorgeous color. It's nice already. I like these scenes that use the gray and the black gesso like this because It takes paintings that could be very complicated and turns them into very, very simple little paintings that you can do. And you can do it with a minimum of time and practice and effort. And to me, I like that very much. It opens the world of art to any person who has ever wanted to put a dream on canvas. You can do it. You don't have to go to school half your life. You don't have to know Leonardo da Vinci as a personal friend. You can paint this. There. And the other thing that's so great about making painting where anybody can do it, it has allowed millions of people to try an art form. And out of that group, hundreds of thousands of people have went forward to pursue an education in higher art. They've ended up in colleges and universities all over the country because they've had some measure of success with this. And even if you never do anything but this, it can bring you tremendous self-fulfillment and enjoyment. There we go. I'll get off my soapbox and just paint now. All right. But isn't that gorgeous already? There we are. I just love these little scenes. And I'm just blending this in very, very smoothly. I think we're ready. Now, the most fun part of this whole technique is washing the brush. Let's do that. This is the way I get even with everybody who hassles me in here. We wash our brush, as you know, with odorless paint thinner. Shake off the excess. And just beat the devil out of it. Now, I suggest if you're going to do this in your living room, you get a little brush beater rack or something, because you can change the decor of a whole room in one heartbeat. Be very careful. Now let's come in here and begin putting in some foliage. I'm going to take a little sap green. Use the same old brush, it doesn't matter. Sap green, get a little more there. And some cad yellow, yellow ochre, a little Indian yellow. Just mix them together on the brush. I'll tell you what I want to do. Reach up here and get a little bit of the midnight black. I want to, oh yeah, there we go. I want a darker green. There, and black and yellow, as you know, makes a gorgeous green color. Now then, I'm going to tap it just like so to load the brush. See there? Good shot there. Now let's go up in here. Let's start with this old big tree. Usually I save the big tree to last. Today, let's do it first. This old big tree, we're just going to use the corner of the brush here. We're just going to begin putting in some leaves here. Maybe this is a big old cypress tree that lives here. As I mentioned earlier, I live in Florida, and I grew up there. And my brother Jim and I, when we were little, we used to play in all these kind of places. That's the reason I like all the little creatures. When I was a small boy, they were my playmates. They were my friends. I didn't know till I was about half grown that everybody didn't play with an alligator or have a little squirrel for a friend, because that's all there was where we lived. There. All right. But just using the corner of the brush, you can make a great big old tree that lives out here. Now as you work down the tree, you want to get darker and darker, so you can add a little more black to your color. Just a little more black. So down in here it gets darker. These are deep shadow areas here. There we go. That's where some of them big old creatures live. Maybe a big old snake lives down here. Who knows? When we were growing up, shoot, I even played with snakes and stuff. Once again, that's what was around, so that's what you play with. There. I'm going to add a little more of that same color, maybe a little more yellow ochre in it. There. Okay, let's go back up here. Now we begin picking out little individual bushes and shrubs and all these things that live out here in the water. There we go. But when you're doing this, work on one little bush at a time. Just one little bush. There. Maybe here's another one. You decide. Use just the corner of the brush and think about form and shape. Don't just throw these in at random. There, maybe. Yep. Now this will not be an exact duplicate of the one you see at the opening. We never can do an exact one again, but it'll show you how it was made. It'll give you an idea. And when you do your little swamp scene, you change it any way that you want. I'm gonna add at least a little touch of the bright red to it just to change the flavor. Ooh, I like that. Like that one. All right. There we go. go. Maybe another little happy bush right here. Wherever. Wherever. There. Okay, here we go. Add a little touch of paint thinner. If you have trouble making the paint stick, as I was there, add a little bit of the paint thinner. Because a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. See there? Now it just drops right off there. So easy. There we go. Just understand your paint and how it works. And that comes with just a little practice. It is most important, most important, that you use a very dry, firm oil paint. Traditional oil paints are about the consistency of face cream. They're very soft and like warm butter. They will not, absolutely will not work for this. Too soft. You need a firm paint. Over here, here's another little, yep, right there. He just lives right there. See him? Pick out little individual bushes and trees in your world. And that easy, you can drop them in. There. And in your mind, think about the little creatures that might live in here. There, maybe Peapod, the little pocket squirrel. Maybe he lives right out here. Who knows? I know he's living in my backyard, but it sounds good. Certainly one of his relatives is here. All right. About like him. Now then. And with that easy, we can basically put in some happy little things. All right, you ready for your bravery test already? Tell you what, let's do it. I'm going to use a little filbert brush. Go right into, we'll use Van Dyke Brown and dark sienna. I'm just going to mix them on the brush here. Just mix them together, but a lot of paint. A lot of paint. Now we had a big cypress tree in our world. And he lives, right through my little palm tree. There he comes. I want this paint to be very thick on the canvas. So when we highlight this, the highlights will be picked up by the heavy, thick areas. There we go. There they come. Big old cypress tree. Now in Florida, where I live, if you see cypress trees, chances are that's some very, very wet property, at least part of the year. That's the kind they make jokes about selling you some land in Florida. Because in the rainy season, you might not be able to get to it. There. My best friend, when I was growing up, bought some of that property. And we all laughed at him. And a few days later, a bunch of developers came in, turned it into some great big subdivision, and he made a lot of money. And he laughed at us. There. I'm going to give another tree right here. There we are. See there? But just really, really add some paint in here. Don't be afraid to put some paint on the canvas. That thickness is what will make it gorgeous when it's done. All right. Cypress trees are normally, they're quite large at the bottom. Big, strong foots on them. And you always have little ones that are coming up like so. There. See them? Once again, do not be afraid to put some paint on the brush and on the canvas. There's another one there. Just little small baby ones that are coming up. There, they come up from the roots. And they just keep spreading. You start with one and they just spread. Pretty soon they take over the whole swamp. But it's a wonderful place for the birds, and they build nests in there, egrets and all the fantastic birds that live there. There. See there? You just decide where they are. Wherever. Something about like that. That gives us some basic shapes. Let's take another 2-inch brush. I'm going to put a small amount of titanium white. Let's begin deciding here where the water is. A little bit of water around here. Very small amount of titanium white. Don't want much because it's opaque and I don't want to lose this transparency. Just pull down gently, straight down, straight down. See there? There, see it? Just enough to give it a little watery appearance. And once again, very, very little of the titanium white, just enough, and then go across like that. And then going back to my filbert, back to my browns, and maybe over here, maybe this old cypress tree, maybe he's put out some roots and there's another one coming here. Now these are called cypress knees, just like the knee on your leg. And that's what they're called. When I was a young boy, we used to go out in the swamps and collect these, and lamps were made out of them to sell to tourists when they came to Florida. They may still be doing that, I don't know. Now, I'm going to take some brown, a little bit of titanium white, and we'll just mix them on the brush, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's go right up in here. Now we can begin adding highlights on this tree. Now, a lot of paint on the brush and just barely touch and let it just pull off what it wants on those high spots that you made. Just let it pull off some of it. A little more of the color on there. There we go. No pressure, absolutely no pressure. It's just literally bouncing right along there. That's all there is to it. There. Okay, and this one over here, he needs some too. Like that. A little bit on there. Another old big tree. Isn't that something? There. There's some fantastic, gorgeous, beautiful swamps in Louisiana and Georgia also. If you've ever been there, the Okefenokee Swamp. Oh, beautiful places. Beautiful places. And it's where the whole ecosystem starts, is in these swamps. There, got to take care of these rascals. There. And this one over here, don't want him left out. Something about like that. And if you want to make the indication of one in front, all you got to do is just sort of highlight him a little bit. Let him come down a little bit lower. Shoot, that easy, we're in business. Something about like that. Let's take our script liner brush, paint thinner, a little bit of the Van Dyke brown. And I want to thin this paint till it's almost the consistency of ink. Turn the bristles. Liner brush has very long bristles, so you can load a lot of paint in it. There, you can see it. All right, let's go up here. Now maybe our old cypress tree, maybe he's got an old limb, hangs out there. Got to make noises like that. We don't know where old limbs live on this tree. Shoot. There. Big old bird's got to have a place to sit up here, so we can look down and see the little minnow running around. There we are. You know, if you get to Florida and you have a chance to see the Everglades down in southern Florida, they're one of the most beautiful places that you've ever seen, and there's so much wildlife there. It's about the only place left where there is any. But it is gorgeous. There. And we have to take care of it. It is such a fragile system. So fragile. There we go. Maybe when I have that old brush going, here and there and there and here, we can put the indication of an old stick and a twig. You decide where they live. There we are. All right. And maybe over in here there's some. They live everywhere. You just put them wherever you think they should be. All right. I just realized I didn't put any highlights on these little cypress knees over here. And they need some too. If our light's coming from up there, we'll just maybe highlight them on this side. Something like so. There we are. And just put in the indication of a few little rascals. There. Now we just use this brush. I'm going to take some black. We'll use black and I'll be right back. Get some sap green. There, we just mix them on the brush. Just black, sap green. Give it a push. Let's go up in here and let's have some nice green areas on these old cypress trees. Got his arm hanging out here like that. There we are. Oh, covering up all my tree branches. That's okay though. We know they're under there and they're needed to hold all this up. So they're there when we know they're there. Maybe right in here lives a big old place like that. There we are. Who knows? Who knows? It's our world and we can do anything here that we want to do. All right, let's use that same brush and go into a little bit of the yellows and both cad yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow. Get a little roll of paint right out of there on the end of that brush. Let's go back up in here. Let's check that out. And we'll put a few leaves up here on this big old rascal. Just using the corner of the brush, just the corner. Something about like that. There, don't cover up all your dark. Leave them dark in places so there's shadows. Swamps have a lot of very dark areas. Ooh, big old owls live up in the trees. Open one eye and look at you in the daytime. There, my brother and I used to go out and we would look for owls in the tree. There. And they're there. They're there. They live way up in these trees, and that's where they sleep in the daytime. All right. Tell you what, let's have some fun. I'm going to grab a little, maybe we'll use number 3 fan brush. I'm going to take some paint thinner and some white, and I'll reach over here and grab some midnight black and just mix them together. Something like that. Just basically gray we're making. And let's go up in here and there. We'll have some old Spanish moss that hangs off there. There. A little more color. And just think in your world where it would hang. It's that easy. But a thin paint will just slide right over it. Maybe let's go up in here. There's always moss hanging out of these old cypress trees. Like that. When we were kids, we used to collect this moss. And they used to use it for stuffing and upholstery. They would boil it, and it has a little black center, and it looks like wire. And if you find old furniture that has that in it, chances are it's Spanish moss. But that's how we made extra money when we were young, is we would collect this and sell it. Got about a nickel a truckload, too. Let's go over this big tree. There, we need some over in here and there. Just at random here and there. Wherever, even down in here, some of these little low trees, the moss falls out and it hangs on everything. It's a parasite. This old Spanish moss, it's just a parasite. Okay, take a little bit of green, sap green and yellow, and I'm just going to touch in, make it look like little grassy things that are growing in the water down through here. Little things like that. There. Just at the foot of these little cypress knees. Grab another fan brush. We'll put some black and some sap green on it. And let's just quickly pop in some little things around the base of this big old tree, group of trees. Shoot, maybe there's one right here too. And let's have one right here. Just wherever. Back to our fan brush, it has the grass color on it. And we'll put in a few little grassy areas, something like that. There. Take a little bit of the dark sienna and white mixed together. We'll put the indication of just a little soil right around the base of it. Just a little. This is some of that soil that you don't want to really step on. You'd probably sink right through it. Just here and there. There. And shoot, I think with that, we got a pretty mean looking little swamp scene. Now that's basically the way we made the little scene that you see in the beginning of this show. Hope you enjoyed it. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.